The first thing Sloane Wilder noticed when she woke up was the unfamiliar weight on her left hand. The second was the smell of coffee. Good coffee, not the watery disaster she gulped down every morning while running late. And the third, the one that made her still foggy brain shift into full panic mode, was the masculine voice coming from her kitchen humming something that sounded suspiciously like a wedding march. Sloane lifted her hand slowly, squinting against the brutal Saturday morning light streaming through her blinds. A rose gold ring glittered on her ring finger. Delicate, expensive, completely unfamiliar. What? The actual... She sat up so fast her head throbbed. Pieces of last night started coming back like a broken slideshow. The office happy hour that turned into dinner. Tequila. So much tequila. Dashiell Knox laughing in that way that made the entire finance department break into cold sweats. A neon chapel. Someone screaming, "Vegas, baby!" No way, absolutely no way. Sloane stumbled out of her bedroom wearing the oversized Red Sox t-shirt she used as pajamas, her heart hammering. She rounded the corner into the living room and froze solid. Dashiell Knox, VP of Acquisitions, terror of CFOs everywhere, the man who'd fired 3 directors in 2 weeks, was in her kitchen making pancakes, barefoot, wearing an impeccably white dress shirt, though wrinkled, suit pants, and an expression of concentration she'd only seen when he was eviscerating budget proposals. "You're awake." He didn't even turn around, just pointed the spatula toward the coffee maker. "Coffee's on the left. Drink some before you start spiraling." "She's spiraling." Sloane's voice came out 3 octaves too high. "I'm wearing a ring, Dashiell. Technically, we're both wearing rings." He turned, and yes, there was another gold band on his hand. Thicker, matching. "And before you ask, yes, it's real. Yes, apparently we got married. No, we don't have photos because you threw my phone into a fountain." Sloane grabbed the counter. The apartment started spinning slightly. "This isn't happening. We don't even like each other. You've spent the last 6 months calling me the paranoid number cruncher. Financial analyst paranoid," he corrected, pouring batter onto the griddle with surgical precision. "Accuracy matters, and you call me the corporate shark. Because you are." "Fair point." Dashiell slid a stack of golden perfect pancakes onto a plate. "But apparently last night we decided our mutual hatred was actually unresolved chemistry. There's a video. You do not want to see it." Sloane collapsed onto a bar stool before her legs gave out. She accepted the coffee because the alternative was passing out. The first sip was so good she almost cried. "How are you so calm?" She stared at him over the rim of her mug, searching for signs of panic. Nothing. Dashiell looked more composed than he did in board meetings. "We got married drunk in Vegas. It's a complete professional catastrophe?" He poured himself coffee, leaning against the counter facing her. The distance between them was too small for corporate enemies. "Yes, which is why I'm making excellent coffee and pancakes to soften the conversation we need to have." Sloane narrowed her eyes. "What conversation?" "The one about how my promotion to CFO gets announced Monday." The world stopped. She set down her mug carefully. You're the new CFO." Surprise. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "And before you plan my murder, know that you were on the final shortlist for the position." This was worse. So much worse. Sloane had spent 2 years killing herself for that promotion. 2 years building flawless analyses, saving the company from 3 disastrous audits, working weekends. And now she'd woken up married to the man who'd stolen her job. "I'm going to be sick." She stood up too fast. Dashiell was already beside her, hand steady on her elbow. "Breathe. I know this seems like a nightmare." Seems? Sloane pulled away. "I married my corporate rival during an alcohol-fueled breakdown, lost the promotion of my lifetime, and you're standing here making pancakes like it's a normal Sunday brunch." Pancakes helped me think. He crossed his arms, and for the first time she saw tension in his jaw. "And we need to think fast." Why? But Sloane already knew, felt it in her gut. Dashiell picked up his phone, swiped, and showed her. A photo of them at the tacky chapel, her laughing like crazy, him kissing her hand where the ring now sparkled. And in the caption, posted from the company's Instagram account at 11:47 p.m., "Our VP of Acquisitions finally found someone who can handle him." 243 likes, 28 comments, tags from the CEO, HR, the entire board. The whole company knows, Dashiell said calmly. And in 6 hours, when the time zone catches up, the New York office will know too. Sloane sat back down, took 3 deep breaths. Okay, this is manageable. We just annul it. Explain it was a mistake, that we were drunk and look like 2 irresponsible executives incapable of sound judgment? Dashiell raised an eyebrow. Weeks before I take over as CFO and you become my direct report? Great for our careers. The word report landed like lead. Sloane closed her eyes. You've already thought of a way out, haven't you? She recognized that expression. Dashiell only got that quiet when he was 3 moves ahead of everyone. What's the plan, honey? His smile was small and dangerous. We stay married. Have you lost your mind? 6 months. He sat beside her, close enough that Sloane caught the scent of expensive cologne. Let the dust settle, look like a functional couple, then divorce amicably. Nobody loses their reputation. This is insane. But part of Sloane's analytical brain was already calculating. Costs, benefits, risks. What if it doesn't work? Then we're already screwed anyway. Dashiell extended his hand. But if it works, in 6 months you'll have your reputation intact and I'll recommend you for senior director. 3 levels above where you are now. Sloane looked at the extended hand, at the gleaming ring that matched hers, at the man she'd spent months hating who was now offering the strangest corporate alliance in history. I despise you, she said. I know. Dashiell didn't lower his hand. But you're too smart to let pride destroy your career. Curse him, he was right. Sloane shook his hand. Firm, professional, like they were closing a corporate merger instead of a temporary fake marriage. 6 months, she said, and you do not sleep in my bedroom. I have my own apartment. Then why are you here? Dashiell gave that infuriating half-smile. Because you live 2 blocks from the office, and I calculated we had 20 minutes before you woke up in total panic. Wanted to make sure this conversation happened on neutral ground, with good coffee. You're a manipulative shark. You married me. What does that say about you? Sloane grabbed a fork and attacked his pancakes. They were annoyingly delicious. Monday's going to be a nightmare, she muttered between bites. Probably. Dashiell poured more coffee for both of them. But at least we'll be equally screwed together. How romantic. We didn't promise romance, Wilder. We promised corporate survival. Sloane raised her mug in a cynical toast. To the most dysfunctional marriage in Boston. Dashiell clinked back, the rings tapping lightly against the porcelain. May it be the worst 6 months of our lives. Outside the window, Boston woke up to a normal Saturday. Inside the apartment, 2 executives finished pancakes while planning how to survive their own accidental marriage. And Sloane Wilder, for the first time in 6 months working with Dashiell Knox, thought, at least it won't be boring. Terrible mistake of a thought, as she'd discover in approximately 42 hours. Monday morning arrived like a freight train Sloane wasn't ready for. She'd spent Sunday alternating between panic scrolling through LinkedIn, wondering if she should start job hunting preemptively, stress eating an entire pint of Ben & Jerry's, and staring at the rose gold ring on her finger like it might disappear if she glared hard enough. It hadn't. Now she stood in front of her closet at 6:47 a.m., wearing only a towel and existential dread, trying to figure out what one wore to announce their accidental marriage to their entire company. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dashiell. Lobby in 20. We go in together or this looks worse. Sloane typed back furiously. I can walk into my own office building alone, thanks. 3 dots appeared. Then, not as my wife, you can't. Every move we make is optics now, 20 minutes. She threw the phone onto her bed and grabbed the first suit that screamed, competent professional who definitely didn't drunkenly marry her rival in Vegas. Navy Armani, silk blouse, heels that could double as weapons, war paint makeup. 17 minutes later, she was in the lobby of Meridian Financial Group's glass tower, and Dashiell was already there, leaning against a marble column in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, looking infuriatingly well-rested. You're late, he said, checking his watch. You said 20 minutes, it's been 18. I said 20 minutes to account for your inevitable lateness. You're predictable, Wilder. Sloane's eye twitched. If we're doing this fake marriage thing, you need to stop being so... She gestured vaguely at all of him. You. Charming, punctual, devastatingly handsome. The corner of his mouth lifted. Insufferable was the word I was looking for. That too. Dashiell straightened. offering his arm like they were headed to a gala instead of corporate warfare. Ready to face the firing squad? Sloan stared at his arm. We don't have to. Yes, we do. From this second forward, we're a united front. That means we walk in together, we handle questions together, and we don't give anyone ammunition to question this. His expression turned serious. I know you hate this. I'm not thrilled either. But half measures get us both fired. He was right. Again. Sloan was starting to find that really annoying. She looped her arm through his. If anyone asks about the wedding, I'm blaming you. Expected. If anyone asks why we didn't tell anyone, I'm blaming tequila. Also fair. They walked through the revolving doors into the soaring atrium of Meridian's headquarters. Sloan had made this walk 1,000 times, but never like this. Attached to Dashiell Knox like they were actually a couple. His cologne was distracting. Something expensive and woody that probably had a pretentious name like Executive Decision or Hostile Takeover. The security guard, Marcus, did a double take. His eyes dropped to their linked arms, then to the matching rings, then back to their faces. Morning, Marcus, Dashiell said smoothly. Mr. Knox, Ms. Wilder, Marcus's professionalism warred with obvious curiosity. Congratulations. Thank you, Sloan said, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack her face. They made it exactly 12 feet past security before the whispers started. Is that wedding rings? The Instagram post was real? Knox and Wilder? No way. The elevator ride to the executive floor was worse. Sloan and Dashiell stood in professional silence while 3 junior analysts from marketing tried desperately not to stare while absolutely staring. One of them, Brad, Chad, some finance bro name, kept sneaking photos. Delete those, Dashiell said without looking at him. Or I'll have IT check every device in this building and personally ensure your performance review reflects your lack of judgment. The phone disappeared so fast, Sloan almost laughed. The elevator dinged. 15th floor. Executive territory. Here we go, Sloan muttered. The doors opened onto chaos. Their assistant Poole had clearly been waiting. The moment Sloan and Dashiell stepped out, 7 people tried to pretend they hadn't been huddled around someone's phone looking at the Vegas photos. Morning, everyone, Dashiell said with the calm of someone who definitely hadn't committed career suicide 48 hours ago. Yes, it's true. Yes, we'll address it. No, we won't be taking questions in the hallway. Sloan, my office or yours? Yours. At least his office had a door that locked and soundproofing for executive calls. She'd need both. They walked past the open plan workspace where the entire finance department was definitely watching, while absolutely pretending not to. Sloan recognized that look. The same one people got when someone brought donuts to a meeting, hungry for details. Dashiell's office was corner real estate with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Sloan had been in here exactly 3 times, always for contentious budget meetings where they'd argued until someone stormed out, usually her. He closed the door. The soundproofing engaged with a soft click. Sloan immediately collapsed into one of his obscenely expensive leather chairs. That was worse than I imagined. That was the easy part. Dashiell loosened his tie, moving to the coffee bar, because of course he had a coffee bar in his office. The hard part happens in, he checked his Patek Philippe, 4 minutes when HR calls an emergency meeting. How do you know that? Because I told them to. Sloan sat up straight. You what? Strategic preemption. He poured 2 espressos with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. We control the narrative, or the narrative controls us. I scheduled a meeting with HR Director Pamela Chen and General Counsel Robert Morrison for 9 a.m. We tell our story first, establish boundaries, make it clear this doesn't affect our work. You scheduled an HR meeting without asking me? I'm your husband. I don't need permission. The look he gave her was pure challenge. Fake husband, for 6 months because we made a catastrophically stupid mistake. A mistake we're now managing like professionals. He handed her the espresso. Their fingers brushed. The ring felt heavy. Drink. You'll need caffeine for what's coming. The espresso was perfect. Sloan hated that she was starting to associate Dashiell Knox with good coffee. His desk phone buzzed. Mr. Knox, Ms. Chen, and Mr. Morrison are here. Send them in. The door opened and Sloan's stomach dropped. Pamela Chen, HR Director, walked in with the expression of someone who'd spent her entire weekend dealing with a PR crisis. She was mid-40s, sharp as broken glass, and had a reputation for ending careers with a smile. Behind her, Robert Morrison, general counsel, silver-haired, perpetually annoyed, looked like he'd aged 5 years since Friday. "Well," Pamela said, settling into a chair with the poise of a queen preparing for an execution. "This is certainly unprecedented." "Pamela, Robert," Dashiell gestured to the chairs. "Thank you for coming. Did we have a choice?" Robert's tone was dry as desert sand. The CEO saw the Instagram post from his vacation in Bermuda. "I've fielded 17 calls since Saturday. So no, this isn't a social visit." Sloane's mouth went dry. Pamela opened a leather portfolio, all business. "Let's start with the obvious questions. Are you two actually married?" "Yes," Dashiell said. "Legally?" "Yes." "In Las Vegas?" "Yes." "While intoxicated?" Sloane winced. "Technically, yes," Dashiell cut in. "We made an impulsive decision during the company retreat happy hour that extended into the evening. We take full responsibility." Pamela made a note. "And you're both aware this creates a conflict of interest situation given Mr. Knox's promotion to CFO effective today?" "We are," Sloane said, finding her voice, "which is why we're here proactively. We want to establish clear professional boundaries." "Boundaries." Robert leaned back, steepling his fingers. "You're married to your new boss. That's not a boundary issue. That's a minefield. Which is why Sloane will be transferring to a different reporting line," Dashiell said smoothly. Sloane's head whipped toward him. "What?" "Director of Strategic Planning reports to the COO, not the CFO. Lateral move, same level, different chain of command. Problem solved." "You didn't..." Sloane bit back her anger. "We didn't discuss this. We're discussing it now." His expression was unreadable. Pamela looked between them with the assessment of someone who could smell blood in the water. "Ms. Wilder, are you comfortable with this arrangement?" Every instinct screamed to say no, to fight, to point out that Dashiell was making decisions about her career without consulting her, exactly like the controlling shark everyone said he was. But the strategic part of her brain, the part that had gotten her this far, did the math. Reporting to the COO wasn't a demotion. It was actually a better political position, less scrutiny, more autonomy, and it solved the ethics problem cleanly. "Yes," she heard herself say, "that works." Pamela made another note. "And the marriage itself? Are you planning to annul?" "No," Dashiell said. "We're giving it a chance," Sloane added, the lie tasting bitter. "It wasn't planned, but we're adults. We're seeing where this goes." Robert didn't look convinced. "And if it doesn't work out? Then we'll handle it professionally," Dashiell said. "Like adults do when relationships end." The lawyer in Robert clearly wanted to argue, but Pamela raised a hand. "Here's what's going to happen," she said, her tone brooking no argument. "This stays internal. No press statements, no social media beyond what's already out there. You conduct yourselves with absolute professionalism at all times. Any hint of favoritism, any appearance of impropriety, and we revisit this arrangement. Understood?" "Understood," they said in unison. "Good," Pamela stood. "Robert and I will draft updated ethics guidelines for your situation. Expect them by end of week. In the meantime," she looked directly at Sloane, "congratulations on your marriage and your new role. I hope both work out better than they started." The door closed behind them. Silence. Then, "Director of Strategic Planning?" Sloane's voice was dangerously quiet. "You unilaterally moved me to a different department. I solved a problem. My problem. My career. You don't get to make those decisions." Dashiell turned to face her fully. "Would you have preferred I let HR put you on administrative leave while they investigated the conflict of interest? Because that was option 2. This way you keep your level, gain autonomy, and we both look like we're handling this maturely. You manipulated, I strategized. There's a difference." He moved closer. "You're brilliant at analysis, Sloane, but you're terrible at office politics. I just saved both our careers. A thank you would be nice." "Thank you?" She stood, getting in his space. They were close enough she could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. "You want gratitude for railroading me? I want acknowledgement that I'm doing what needs to be done while you're too busy being angry to see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that I'm stuck in a fake marriage with a control freak who thinks he knows better than everyone. And you're stuck with someone who's keeping you from self-destructing out of pride." His voice dropped. "We're on the same team now, Wilder. Start acting like it." The tension crackled between them. Anger and something else Sloane refused to name. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Welcome to strategic planning. Staff meeting at 2 p.m. to meet your new team. Miranda Voss, COO Reality, crashed back. This is insane, Sloane muttered, looking at the message. This is survival. Dashiell stepped back, the moment breaking. You have 6 hours to prepare for your new role. I'd suggest using them. Sloane grabbed her bag, headed for the door, then paused. Dashiell? Yeah? Next time you make a decision about my career, ask first. We might be married, but you don't own me. Noted. She left without looking back. But as the door closed, she heard him say quietly, 6 months, Wilder. We just need to survive 6 months. In her new office 3 floors down, Sloane stared at the Boston skyline and wondered if 6 months would feel like a lifetime. Her desk phone rang. Miranda Voss's name on the caller ID. Sloane took a breath, put on her professional mask, and answered, This is Sloane Wilder, Director of Strategic Planning. How can I help you? The war paint was back on. Game face, activated. Now she just had to figure out how to survive being married to the most dangerous man at Meridian Financial, while convincing everyone, including herself, that this was all part of the plan. By Wednesday, Sloane had attended 14 meetings in her new role, memorized the names of her 12-person team, and successfully avoided Dashiell Knox for 47 consecutive hours. Not that she was counting. Her new boss, Miranda Voss, was a revelation. Sharp, strategic, and refreshingly direct. The COO ran strategic planning like a well-oiled machine. No corporate nonsense, no ego battles, just results. Sloane had presented 3 different growth scenarios for Q4, and Miranda had approved 2 with minimal notes. It was, ironically, the best work week Sloane had experienced in months, which made the text that arrived at 4:47 p.m. all the more unwelcome. Dashiell, dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Il Corso, non-negotiable. Sloane stared at her phone like it had personally betrayed her. Sloane, I have plans. Dashiell, no you don't. You're going home to eat takeout while answering emails. I checked your calendar. Sloane, that's creepy and possibly illegal. Dashiell, we're married. Your calendar syncs to mine automatically. IT set it up Monday. Sloane, what? Dashiell, 7 p.m. Don't be late. We need to be seen together or people will ask questions. Sloane typed out 5 different responses, each more creative than the last in terms of where Dashiell could shove his dinner invitation. She deleted them all, because he was right. Again. They'd successfully avoided each other for 2 days, which was exactly the kind of thing that would make the office gossip mill explode. Newlyweds who can't stand to be in the same room wasn't the narrative they needed. Sloane, fine, but I'm ordering the most expensive wine on the menu. Dashiell, I'm expensing it anyway. See you there. Sloane threw her phone into her bag with more force than necessary. Trouble in paradise already? She looked up to find Kieran Walsh leaning against her doorframe, strategic planning's lead analyst, 30-something, perpetually amused by everything. He'd been friendly since her first day, which Sloane appreciated even if his timing was terrible. My husband is demanding, Sloane said, testing how the word felt. Weird. It felt weird. The infamous Dashiell Knox. Kieran grinned. Half the building is placing bets on how long you two last. Current over-under is 3 months. That's optimistic. I put money on 6. You seem stubborn enough to outlast spite alone. Sloane laughed despite herself. What if I told you spite is literally our entire foundation? Then I'd say you two are either going to kill each other or... He paused dramatically. Discover that hate is just passion wearing a different mask. That's the worst fortune cookie wisdom I've ever heard. Got it from my sister's wedding toast. She's divorced now. Kieran checked his watch. Want me to walk you out? I'm headed to the tea anyway. Sure. Just let me... Her desk phone rang. Internal extension. Dashiell's office. Sloane and Kieran exchanged looks. Money says he's calling to confirm you got his text, Kieran whispered. Not taking that bet. Sloane picked up. Yes? You're still at your desk. Dashiell's voice came through crisp and annoyed. The reservation is for 7. It takes 30 minutes to get to the north end from here, which means you need to leave by 6:15 to account for traffic. It's 4:48, and you'll need time to go home and change. That suit is professional, but not dinner appropriate. Sloane looked down at her navy suit. What's wrong with my suit? Nothing, if you're attending a shareholders meeting. But we're going to Il Corso, which has a dress code, and I'd prefer not to look like we're conducting a business dinner. Maybe because this is a business dinner. Business marriage. Business appearance. Business... Sloane. His voice dropped lower. Just wear something nice, please. The please caught her off guard. Fine, she said. But if you critique my outfit choice, I'm leaving. Deal. See you at 7. The line went dead. Kieran was trying very hard not to laugh. He called to comment on your outfit? Apparently my wardrobe isn't fancy enough for his pretentious restaurant choice. Il Corso isn't pretentious. It's romantic. Kieran's grin widened. Candlelight, intimate booths, live violin music on Wednesdays. That's not a business dinner, Sloane. That's a date. It's a PR move. Keep telling yourself that. He grabbed his messenger bag. Come on, I'll walk you to the T. You've got an outfit crisis to solve. Sloane's apartment was a cramped one-bedroom in Beacon Hill that cost too much and had a radiator that clanked like a dying robot, but it was hers. She'd lived here for 3 years, and in all that time she'd never once stressed about what to wear. Now she was standing in front of her closet having a full crisis. Business suit? Too corporate. Little black dress? Too trying too hard. Jeans? Dashiell would probably have an aneurysm. Her phone buzzed. Text from her best friend Zara Park, who worked in marketing at a startup across town. Zara. Saw the Instagram post. Married. To Knox? Call me immediately or I'm showing up at your apartment. Sloane hit dial. Zara answered before the first ring finished. Sloane Marie Wilder, what the actual... I know. You married Dashiell Knox, the guy you've complained about for 6 months. The corporate shark. The walking spreadsheet. The man you once called capitalism in a suit. It was a mistake. A mistake? How do you accidentally marry someone? Sloane collapsed onto her bed, phone on speaker while she stared at her ceiling. Vegas, tequila, very poor judgment, long story. I have time, spill. So Sloane did. The whole thing, the Vegas chapel, the rings, the Monday HR meeting, the 6-month plan. Zara listened with increasingly creative reactions ranging from, no way, to, are you kidding me, to, this is the best thing I've ever heard. Okay, Zara said when Sloane finished. Okay, so you're fake married to your hot rival for 6 months and now you have to pretend to be in love? I never said he was hot. You didn't have to. I've seen him at company events. The man looks like he was genetically engineered in a lab with sexy CEO as the only parameter. He's also controlling, manipulative, and thinks he knows everything. So, your type? I don't have a type. You absolutely do. Remember Jeremy from grad school? Or that consultant from the merger project? You're attracted to smart, powerful men who challenge you. Zara's voice turned sly. Dashiell Knox is basically your type wearing a wedding ring. This is not helpful. I have to have dinner with him in... Sloane checked her phone. 90 minutes and I don't know what to wear. Wait, dinner? Like a date? Like a public appearance so people don't think our marriage is falling apart. Right, sure, public appearance. Zara was definitely smirking. Wear the green dress. I don't have a green dress. The emerald wrap dress you bought for that conference and never wore because you said it was too dressy? That one. Wear it. Sloane looked at her closet. The dress was still there, tags on, mocking her with its elegance. That's too much for a business dinner. Good thing this isn't a business dinner. Zara's tone went serious. Sloane, I know this whole situation is weird and stressful, but maybe, just maybe, go to dinner. Wear something that makes you feel good and see what happens. Worst case, you get a free meal at Il Corso. Best case, there is no best case. This is a 6-month contract with an expiration date. If you say so. Zara didn't sound convinced. Text me after. And Sloane, if he's a jerk, I will personally destroy him on LinkedIn. That's weirdly touching. That's what friends are for. Now go put on that dress and knock him dead. Il Corso was tucked into a brick building in the North End, all warm lighting and old-world charm. Sloane arrived at 7:02 p.m., late enough to prove a point, early enough to not be rude, and immediately spotted Dashiell at a corner booth. He stood when he saw her, and stopped, just stopped, and stared. Sloane felt suddenly self-conscious in the emerald dress, which hugged her curves and brought out the green in her hazel eyes. She'd left her hair down instead of in its usual professional bun, and Zara had convinced her to wear the heels that made her almost tall enough to look Dashiell in the eye. "You're staring," she said, reaching the table. "You wore green." His voice was different, lower. "I've never seen you in anything but navy or black." "Yeah, well, you said to wear something nice." "This is nice." She slid into the booth before he could pull out her chair. "Are we ordering, or are you going to critique my fashion choices all night?" Dashiell sat across from her, and she caught the full effect of him in a dark gray suit with no tie, the top button undone. Casual elegance, effortless, annoying. "You look beautiful," he said simply. Sloane blinked. "What?" "You look beautiful. I'm complimenting you. It's what husbands do. We're fake. In public, we're real." He nodded toward the restaurant. "And we're being watched by at least 3 people I recognize from Meridian's legal department." Sloane resisted the urge to turn around. "Great. Audience participation." A waiter appeared with menus and a wine list. Dashiell ordered a bottle of Barolo without asking her preference, which should have annoyed her, but was actually exactly what she would have chosen. When the waiter left, Dashiell leaned back. "So, how's strategic planning? You're making small talk? I'm asking about your week, also what husbands do." "Miranda is great. The team is solid. I'm working on expansion models for the West Coast markets." Sloane fiddled with her water glass. "It's good. Better than I expected." "Good." He seemed to mean it. "I knew you'd excel there. Strategic thinking is your strength." Was that a compliment? "I'm capable of them occasionally." Could have fooled me. The wine arrived. Dashiell went through the tasting ritual, approved it, and the waiter poured 2 glasses before disappearing. Sloane took a sip. Perfect. Smooth. Complex. Exactly right. "I'm sorry," Dashiell said. She nearly choked. "What?" "For Monday. For making the transfer decision without consulting you." He met her eyes. "You were right. It was your career, your choice. I overstepped." This was new territory. Dashiell Knox didn't apologize. He calculated, maneuvered, won. Apologies weren't in his playbook. "Oh," Sloane said intelligently. Thank you? You sound surprised." "That's because I am. I didn't think your ego allowed for admitting mistakes." "It doesn't usually." A small smile. "But my wife pointed out that our arrangement requires mutual respect." She was right. "Your wife sounds smart." "Terrifyingly so." He raised his glass. "To 6 months of trying not to kill each other?" Sloane clinked her glass against his. "And to expensive wine on your corporate card." They ordered. Sloane got the lobster ravioli, Dashiell the osso buco, and settled into surprisingly easy conversation. He asked about her team, she asked about the CFO transition. They debated the merits of different strategic approaches, argued about market projections, found themselves laughing over a story about a disastrous client presentation from 3 years ago. It was nice, which was deeply unsettling. "Can I ask you something?" Sloane said halfway through her second glass of wine. "Depends on the question. Why did you really take the CFO position?" She studied him. "You could have gone anywhere. Private equity would throw money at you. Why stay at Meridian?" Dashiell was quiet for a moment, swirling his wine. "My dad worked in finance his whole life. 60-hour weeks, constant stress. He missed most of my childhood chasing the next promotion." He looked up. "He died of a heart attack at 53, 3 weeks before his retirement." "Dashiell, Don't." He held up a hand. "I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm answering your question. I took the CFO role because Meridian is stable. It's established. I can do the work I'm good at without sacrificing everything else." His expression was unreadable. "I don't want to end up like my father, brilliant at his job and terrible at living." Sloane felt something shift. This wasn't the corporate shark. This was just a person, with wounds and reasons and complexity she hadn't bothered to see before. "That's why you're so controlled," she said quietly. "You think if you manage everything perfectly you won't end up like him. Maybe." Dashiell's jaw tightened. "Or maybe I'm just a controlling jerk who can't help himself." "You're both." She smiled to soften it. "But the first part makes the second part make more sense." "Your turn." He leaned forward. "Why finance? You could have done anything. Economics, consulting, academia. Why the corporate grind?" Sloane traced the rim of her wine glass. "My parents own a small hardware store in Portland, Maine. They've run it for 30 years, barely scraping by. I watched them stress about every bill, every slow season, every unexpected expense. She met his eyes. I got into finance because I never want to feel that powerless about money. I want security, control, career where I make the decisions instead of having them made for me. That's why you were so angry Monday. I took your control. Yeah, she set down her glass. I know you were trying to help, but being managed feels like being powerless, and I can't. She stopped, surprised at how much she'd revealed. Dashiell reached across the table. His hand covered hers. I get it, and I won't do it again. We're partners in this, Sloan. Actual partners. That means decisions together. His hand was warm. The ring caught the candlelight. Partners, she echoed. The moment stretched. Then her phone buzzed. Both of them jumped. Sloan checked it. A text from Miranda. Great work on the West Coast models. Let's discuss expansion timeline tomorrow, 10 a.m. She showed Dashiell. See? I'm killing it in strategic planning. Never doubted it. He signaled for the check. Ready to face our adoring public? They stood, and Dashiell offered his arm. This time, Sloan took it without hesitation. Outside Il Corso, the North End was alive with Wednesday night energy. Couples strolling, tourists hunting for cannoli, the smell of garlic and basil in the air. I'm parked 2 blocks over, Dashiell said. Want a ride? I took the T. So that's a yes, not a question. They walked in comfortable silence until they reached his car, a Tesla Model S, because of course it was. Black, sleek, probably had a name like The Executive or something equally pretentious. Does your car have a name? Sloan asked as he opened her door. Why would my car have a name? I don't know. You seem like the type to name inanimate objects. I'm not. He closed her door, walked around, slid into the driver's seat. But if I did, I'd call it something practical like car. That's the worst name ever. Says the woman who probably calls her laptop something like spreadsheet machine. I call it Gerald, actually. Dashiell started the car. Of course you do. The drive to Beacon Hill was short. 15 minutes through Boston's tangle of streets. They talked about nothing important. The best pizza in the North End, whether the Red Sox had a shot this year, the new coffee shop that opened near the office. When they pulled up to her building, Dashiell put the car in park but didn't unlock the doors. What? Sloan asked. This was nice. Tonight. He looked at her, expression unguarded in a way she'd never seen. We should do it again. Because we need to be seen together? Because I actually enjoyed your company. Oh, that was dangerous territory. Dashiell, I know. 6 months, contract, fake marriage. He unlocked the doors. But we're stuck together anyway. Might as well not hate every second of it. Sloan gathered her purse, her coat, her composure. Thursday nights I have standing plans with Zara, but Friday could work. His smile was slow and genuine. Friday it is. She got out of the car, walked to her building entrance, then turned back. Dashiell was still watching. On impulse, and maybe the wine, she walked back to his window. He rolled it down. Thank you, she said, for dinner, and for the apology, and for, she gestured vaguely at all of him, not being completely terrible tonight. High praise from Sloan Wilder. His eyes crinkled. Get some sleep. Miranda runs her 10 a.m.s like military operations. Good night, Dashiell. Good night, wife. She flipped him off with a smile and headed inside. In her apartment, Sloan kicked off her heels, poured herself water, and stared at the ring on her finger. 6 months suddenly felt both impossibly long and dangerously short. Her phone buzzed. Zara. Well, how was it? Did you kill him or kiss him? Sloan typed back. Neither, but I might be in trouble. Zara. Good trouble or bad trouble? Sloan looked at her reflection in the darkened window, still wearing the green dress, still feeling the warmth of Dashiell's hand over hers. Sloan. I have no idea. And that, she realized as she got ready for bed, was the most honest thing she'd said all week. The email arrived Thursday morning at 8:03 a.m., marked urgent in red. From Patricia Whitmore, Executive Assistant to CEO to all executive staff. Subject, Annual Meridian Foundation Gala, October 14th, attendance mandatory. Sloan read it twice, dread pooling in her stomach. The Meridian Foundation Gala was legendary. Black tie, 500 guests held at the Boston Harbor Hotel ballroom. It was where deals were made, careers were launched, and executives proved they belonged in the upper echelons of corporate finance. It was also exactly 3 days away, and she'd have to attend as Dashiell Knox's wife. Her phone rang immediately. Dashiell's name on the screen. "You saw the email," she said instead of hello. "We need to go shopping." "Excuse me?" "For the gala. You need a gown? I need a tux that actually fits. And we have 72 hours to make sure we look like a credible couple." He sounded like he was already multitasking. "I'm blocking out Saturday morning. Newbury Street, 10 a.m. I can buy my own dress." "With what expertise? When's the last time you attended a black tie gala?" Sloane opened her mouth, closed it. The answer was never. She'd been to corporate dinners and conferences, but actual high society galas, that was a different world. "That's what I thought," Dashiell continued. "This isn't about control, Sloane. This is about survival. The gala is where the board evaluates executives. How we present ourselves matters." "Fine." She hated that he was right. "Again, but I'm not wearing anything ridiculous." "Ridiculous is subjective. I'll see you Saturday." He paused. "And Sloane, thank you for not fighting me on this. I'm saving my fight quota for when you inevitably do something actually annoying." His laugh was warm. "Smart resource management, that's why you're good at your job." The line went dead. Sloane stared at her phone, then at the calendar. Saturday. Dress shopping. With Dashiell Knox. This was either going to be hilarious or a complete disaster. Possibly both. Saturday morning was unseasonably warm for October. Sloane met Dashiell outside Saks Fifth Avenue on Newbury Street, wearing jeans and a leather jacket because she refused to dress up for dress shopping. Dashiell arrived in dark jeans and a gray Henley that should have been casual, but somehow looked like it cost more than her monthly rent. His hair was slightly messy, like he'd actually slept in instead of waking at 5 a.m. to work out and answer emails. "You look almost human," Sloane said. "No tie, no suit. It's my weekend disguise." He held the door open. "Ready? To spend obscene amounts of money on a dress I'll wear once?" "Absolutely not. Think of it as an investment in our cover story." He guided her toward the evening wear section with the confidence of someone who'd done this before, which raised an interesting question. "How many women have you taken dress shopping?" Sloane asked as they entered a section filled with gowns that probably cost more than her car. "Including you?" "One." He caught her skeptical look. "I'm serious. I've attended plenty of galas, but I've never brought a date. Usually went solo or with colleagues." "Why not?" Dashiell examined a navy gown, frowned, put it back. "Because dating in our industry is complicated. Everyone wants something. Connections, promotions, information. It's easier to just not. That's depressing. That's realistic." He pulled out a black dress. "Try this." "That's boring. It's classic. It's what every other woman will be wearing." Sloane moved past him to a rack of jewel tones. "I'm not blending into the wallpaper at this thing." She pulled out a deep burgundy gown, off-shoulder, fitted bodice, dramatic skirt, the kind of dress that made a statement. Dashiell studied it. "That's bold. Is that a compliment or criticism?" "Both." "Try it on." The fitting rooms at Saks were bigger than her bedroom. Sloane changed into the burgundy gown, struggling with the back zipper until a sales associate appeared to help. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The dress fit like it was made for her, emphasizing curves she usually hid under business suits, the color bringing out the warmth in her skin tone. With the right shoes and jewelry, she'd look like she actually belonged at a high society gala. "Miss Wilder?" The sales associate knocked. "Your husband asked if you could step out so he can see." "Right. Husband." That was still weird. Sloane took a breath and walked out. Dashiell was sitting in one of those uncomfortable-looking modern chairs, scrolling through his phone. He looked up, and his expression went completely blank. "Well?" Sloane did an awkward half-turn. "Does it meet your standards?" "We're buying it." His voice was rough. "And shoes, and whatever jewelry they recommend." "You haven't even asked the price." "Don't care." He stood, moving closer. "You look incredible." The sales associate beamed. "Your husband has excellent taste, Mrs. Knox." "Mrs. Knox." The name landed like a punch. "It's actually Wilder," Sloane corrected automatically. "I kept my name." "Of course." The woman didn't miss a beat. "Very modern. Now let's talk about accessories." An hour later, Sloane had been outfitted with strappy heels, a clutch, and diamond earrings that Dashiell insisted on buying despite her protests. He'd also acquired a custom tux that somehow made him look even more devastatingly handsome, which seemed unfair. They left Saks with garment bags and shopping bags, looking exactly like a wealthy couple preparing for a social event. "Coffee?" Dashiell asked, nodding toward a cafe across the street. "You're actually asking instead of dictating?" "I'm learning," he smiled. "Plus, I'm caffeinated enough, but you look like you need a latte." They settled into a corner table at Thinking Cup, orders placed. Oat milk latte for her, black coffee for him because, of course. "Can I ask you something?" Sloane wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "Why does this gala matter so much to you?" Dashiell was quiet for a moment, watching people stream past the window. "Because it's where the board decides who has a future at Meridian and who doesn't. CFO is a high-visibility role. If I show up with a wife nobody believes is real, or who looks uncomfortable, or who I clearly have no chemistry with," he met her eyes, "it raises questions about my judgment, my stability, whether I'm the right person for the job. That's ridiculous. Your performance should speak for itself." "You'd think." He took a sip of coffee. "But executive leadership isn't just about performance. It's about optics, relationships, trust. The board needs to believe I'm stable enough to handle the CFO role. A happy marriage, or at least a convincing one, signals that." Sloane processed this. "So we're not just maintaining a cover story for HR. We're maintaining it for the board." "Exactly. And if we fail, then we both lose. I lose credibility as CFO, you lose the promotion opportunity I promised you, and we both become office gossip for the next decade." He leaned back. "No pressure. You really know how to motivate a person. I'm being honest. I thought you'd appreciate that." She did. Sloane had spent enough time in corporate environments to recognize when someone was managing her versus being real. This was real. "Okay," she said. "Then let's do this right. What do I need to know about the gala?" Dashiell pulled out his phone, opened a notes app. "Key people to know. Martin Hastings is the CEO. You've met him briefly. His wife Diana runs the foundation. Be nice to her. She has more influence than anyone admits. Board members to remember." He went through a list of 20 names, giving Sloane quick profiles on each. Who to engage, who to avoid, what topics were safe, what landmines to dodge. By the time he finished, Sloane's head was spinning. "This sounds like a military operation," she said. "It is, corporate warfare with better wine and worse speeches." He glanced at his watch. "One more thing. We should practice." "Practice what?" "Looking like a married couple." Dashiell stood, offering his hand. "Dance with me." "Here, in a coffee shop?" "No, outside." He nodded toward the street where a musician was playing guitar. "Come on." Before Sloane could protest, he'd pulled her outside. The guitarist was playing something jazzy and romantic, and a few couples were swaying on the sidewalk like it was the most normal thing in the world. Dashiell pulled her close, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers. "At the gala, there will be dancing. We need to look comfortable together." "This is insane," Sloane muttered, but she followed his lead. He was a good dancer, confident, smooth, making it easy for her to follow. They moved together naturally, and Sloane found herself relaxing into it. "See?" Dashiell's voice was quiet, close to her ear. "Not so bad. You're going to be insufferable if I admit you're right. I'm already insufferable. Might as well be honest." She laughed, and his hand tightened slightly at her waist. They danced through 2 songs, surrounded by Saturday morning Newbury Street chaos. Shoppers, tourists, the smell of fresh pastries from a nearby bakery. It should have been awkward. Instead, it felt almost nice. When the music stopped, they stood there for a moment, not quite ready to let go. "Sloane?" A familiar voice broke the moment. She turned to see Zara standing 5 feet away, iced coffee in hand, expression absolutely delighted. "Hey, Zara," Sloane said, stepping back from Dashiell. "This is Dashiell Knox, your husband." "I know." Zara's grin was predatory. "We haven't officially met. I'm Zara Park, Sloane's best friend and official keeper of secrets." Dashiell shook her hand. "The friend who convinced her to wear the green dress." Zara's eyebrows shot up. "You noticed that?" "Hard not to." "Oh, I like him," Zara said to Sloane. "He's observant. Are you keeping him after the 6 months?" "Zara." Sloane's voice held a warning. "What?" "I'm just asking." She turned back to Dashiell. "Fair warning. If you hurt my best friend, I have a very specific set of skills involving social media and your professional reputation. Noted. Dashiell didn't look fazed. For what it's worth, hurting Sloane isn't part of my plan. Good answer. Zara checked her phone. I'm late for brunch, but we're doing girls' night Thursday. Sloane will fill me in on everything. She winked. By everything, I mean everything. She disappeared into the crowd before Sloane could respond. She's terrifying, Dashiell observed. She's protective. There's a difference. No, those things aren't mutually exclusive. He picked up their shopping bags. Come on, I'll drive you home. The drive back to Beacon Hill was quiet, comfortable. They talked about the gala strategy, compared notes on board members, debated the best approach for networking. When they pulled up to her building, Dashiell put the car in park but didn't unlock the doors. Again. This is becoming a pattern, Sloane said. What is? You parking outside my building and having significant conversations instead of just saying goodbye like a normal person. I'm not great at normal. He turned to face her. But I am good at strategy, and here's what I'm thinking. The gala is 3 days away. We need to be completely in sync. So between now and then, we spend time together. Dinner tomorrow, coffee Monday, lunch Tuesday. That's a lot of togetherness. That's the point. By Saturday, we need to look like a couple who actually knows each other, who can finish each other's sentences, read each other's moods, exist in the same space without looking like it's a corporate merger. Sloane considered this. You're basically asking me to method act our marriage. I'm asking you to help me sell this so we both win. He was right. Of course he was right. The gala was their biggest test yet, and failure meant everything they'd built fell apart. Fine, she said, but I'm picking the restaurant tomorrow. Deal. She gathered her shopping bags, but Dashiell's hand on her arm stopped her. Sloane, his expression was serious. Thank you for doing this, for going along with the plan even when I'm being controlling or manipulative or insufferable. That too. A small smile. I know this isn't what you signed up for, but I'm grateful you're here anyway. The sincerity caught her off guard. This version of Dashiell, vulnerable, honest, almost soft, was becoming dangerously familiar. We're partners, she said, echoing their earlier conversation. That means we do this together. Partners. He released her arm. See you tomorrow? Tomorrow. Sloane made it all the way to her apartment before the reality hit her. She'd just agreed to spend the next 3 days essentially dating her fake husband. Her phone buzzed. A text from Zara. Zara, that man looks at you like you hung the moon. Just FYI. Sloane, he was probably calculating gala optics. Zara, sure. And I'm the Queen of England. You're in trouble, babe. Sloane, I know, and the scariest part, she wasn't entirely sure she minded. Sunday dinner was at Atlantic Fish Company. Sloane's choice, seafood instead of Italian, casual elegance instead of romance. Monday coffee was at Flower Bakery, where they argued about the Red Sox over sticky buns, and Dashiell accidentally got powdered sugar on his nose, making Sloane laugh so hard she choked on her latte. Tuesday lunch was at row 34, where they practiced their couple story, how they fell for each other, gradually then all at once, why they got married in Vegas, spontaneous romance, what their future looked like, taking it one day at a time. By Wednesday, they had inside jokes. By Thursday, they could read each other's moods. By Friday, when Sloane showed up to work and found Dashiell waiting with her favorite coffee order memorized, she realized with startling clarity that they'd crossed a line. They weren't acting anymore. They were actually becoming friends, maybe more. And that was absolutely catastrophically terrifying. Saturday arrived with crystalline October weather and approximately zero chill from Sloane's nervous system. She'd spent the morning getting ready, hair professionally styled in an elegant updo, makeup done by someone who actually knew what they were doing, the burgundy dress fitting like a second skin. When she looked in the mirror, she saw someone who belonged at a high society gala. She just hoped she could pull off the performance. Dashiell arrived at 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes early, because punctuality was apparently genetic. Sloane opened the door and watched his jaw actually drop. Hi, she said. Hi. He seemed to remember how words worked. You look, if you say presentable, I'm staying home. Stunning. You look absolutely stunning. He was wearing the custom tux, and the effect was frankly unfair. Ready to convince Boston's financial elite that we're madly in love. Sloane grabbed her clutch. Let's go sell this lie. But as Dashiell offered his arm and they walked to his car, Sloane couldn't shake the feeling that the lie was becoming harder to distinguish from the truth. And she had exactly 4 hours at the gala to figure out what that meant. The Boston Harbor Hotel ballroom was everything Sloane had imagined and worse. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over 500 of Boston's financial elite, all dressed in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. A string quartet played in the corner while waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres that probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget. The air smelled like expensive perfume and ambition. Sloane's hand tightened on Dashiell's arm. "Breathe," he murmured, covering her hand with his. "You belong here just as much as anyone else. Easy for you to say. You've been coming to these things for years. And every single time I want to turn around and leave." He guided her toward the entrance. "The secret is pretending you're somewhere else. I usually imagine I'm at a Red Sox game. In a tuxedo? Luxury box seats. Work with me here." Despite herself, Sloane smiled. They handed their coats to coat check and stepped fully into the ballroom. Heads turned. Not everyone, but enough that Sloane felt the weight of attention. "They're staring," she whispered. "Of course they are. You're the most beautiful woman in the room and you're with me. They're trying to figure out how I got so lucky." Dashiell's voice was low, intimate. "Let them wonder." Before Sloane could respond, a voice cut through the ambient noise. "Dashiell, there you are." Martin Hastings, CEO of Meridian Financial Group, approached with his wife Diana. Martin was 60-something, silver-haired, with the kind of commanding presence that came from 3 decades in corner offices. Diana was elegant in emerald silk, her smile warm but assessing. "Martin, Diana." Dashiell shook hands smoothly. "You both know my wife, Sloane Wilder." "Of course." Diana's handshake was firm. "Though we haven't had a proper chance to talk since the wedding announcement. How wonderfully spontaneous of you both." Translation: how reckless and potentially career-damaging. "Sometimes the best decisions are the unplanned ones," Sloane said, channeling every ounce of confidence she possessed. "Dashiell and I have been dancing around our feelings for months. Vegas just accelerated the inevitable." Dashiell's hand moved to the small of her back, supportive, possessive, perfect. "How romantic," Diana said, and she actually seemed to mean it. "Martin and I had a whirlwind courtship ourselves. 6 weeks from first date to wedding. 42 years ago this December," Martin added, his expression softening when he looked at his wife. "Best impulsive decision I ever made." The tension eased slightly. If the CEO and his wife had survived a whirlwind romance, maybe Sloane and Dashiell's story wasn't so outrageous. "Well, we won't keep you," Diana said. "But Sloane, I'd love to chat later about the Foundation's literacy program. Dashiell mentioned you have a background in strategic planning. We could use that expertise." "I'd be happy to help," Sloane said, genuinely meaning it. As the Hastings moved on to greet other guests, Sloane exhaled. "You did great," Dashiell said. "I lied through my teeth. Welcome to corporate events. Come on, let's get champagne before the next interrogation." They moved through the crowd and Sloane started to notice the patterns. Younger executives watched them with curiosity. Board members assessed with calculating eyes. Peers from Dashiell's level seemed split between skepticism and amusement. "Knox!" a loud voice boomed across the ballroom. "Heard you finally settled down." A large man in an ill-fitting tux approached. Robert Chen, head of Meridian's West Coast division, known for closing massive deals and having absolutely zero filter. "Robert," Dashiell's smile tightened slightly. "Good to see you. And this must be the bride, Sloane Wilder, right? Strategic planning." Robert pumped her hand enthusiastically. "Smart move, Knox. Marrying someone who actually understands what you do. My third wife thought CFO stood for can't find overtime." Sloane nearly choked on her champagne. "That's creative." "She was an artist. Didn't work out." Robert clapped Dashiell on the shoulder hard enough to make him wince. "But you two? I give it good odds. You've got that look." "What look?" Sloane asked before she could stop herself. "The look of two people who argue about everything but can't imagine being apart." Robert winked. "Trust me, I've been married 4 times. I know the difference between lust and partnership. You two have both." He wandered off toward the bar, leaving Sloane and Dashiell staring at each other. "Did he just," Sloane started, "accurately diagnose our entire dynamic in 30 seconds? Dashiell finished. Yeah, Robert's smarter than he looks. That's terrifying. Agreed. Let's. Dashiell Knox as I live and breathe. A woman in a silver gown approached. Late 30s, stunning, with the kind of confidence that came from inherited wealth and Ivy League degrees. Sloane recognized her from office gossip. Victoria Ashford, VP of Private Equity, rumored to have dated half the executive floor. Victoria. Dashiell's tone was carefully neutral. I heard about your Vegas adventure. Victoria's smile was sharp. How unexpected. You always struck me as the type to plan everything down to the minute. People change, Dashiell said. Apparently. Victoria's gaze slid to Sloane, assessing and dismissive in equal measure. And you must be the reason. Sloane, is it? From strategic planning? That's right. Sloane met her gaze steadily. How lovely. Victoria sipped her champagne. You know, Dashiell and I worked together on the Morrison acquisition last year. Such long nights in the office. Very intense collaboration. The implication was clear as glass. Sloane felt something hot and ugly twist in her chest. Jealousy. Which was ridiculous because this was a fake marriage and Victoria was clearly trying to get a rise out of her. But then Dashiell's arm wrapped around Sloane's waist, pulling her close. Those long nights taught me something valuable, he said, his voice cool. The difference between a working relationship and something real. I spent years confusing the two. He looked at Sloane and his expression softened in a way that made her breath catch. Until I met someone who made me understand what I'd been missing. Victoria's smile froze. How sweet. We should find our table, Dashiell said. Victoria, always a pleasure. He guided Sloane away, his hand still at her waist, warm and steady. That was, Sloane started once they were out of earshot. Petty? Absolutely. But she was baiting you and I wasn't going to let her win. He looked down at her. You okay? Yeah, just processing that you apparently have an ex who works here. Ex is generous. We went on 3 dates 2 years ago. She wanted something serious, I didn't. End of story. His jaw tightened. I should have warned you she'd be here. It's fine. And weirdly, it was. Because the way Dashiell had defended their relationship, fake or not, had felt protective in a way that made something warm bloom in Sloane's chest. They found their assigned table. Table 3, which was close enough to the front to signal importance, but not so close that every move would be scrutinized. Already seated were 2 other couples. Jennifer Park and Marcus Liu from compliance, and Robert Morrison, the general counsel from their HR meeting with his wife Susan. Everyone greeted them politely, and Sloane settled into small talk about the foundation's initiatives, safe topics like Boston's fall weather, and carefully neutral comments about work. Dinner was served. Some kind of chicken that was probably delicious, but Sloane barely tasted because she was too aware of Dashiell beside her, his hand occasionally brushing hers. The way he leaned in to whisper commentary about various speakers during the program. How natural it felt to be this close to him. After dinner came the dancing. The string quartet transitioned to a small jazz ensemble, and couples began moving toward the dance floor. Dashiell stood, offering his hand. Shall we show them what we practiced? Sloane let him lead her to the floor. The song was slow and romantic, something classic she didn't recognize. Dashiell pulled her close. One hand at her waist, the other holding hers. They moved together easily, all those practice sessions paying off. But this felt different than dancing on Newbury Street. This was intimate, charged, real. You're tense, Dashiell murmured. There are 200 people watching us. Then let's give them something to see. He spun her gently, pulled her back in closer than before. Sloane, look at me. She did. His dark eyes were intense, focused entirely on her. Forget the crowd. He said quietly. Forget the board, the company, all of it. Just be here with me. Something in his voice made her heart stutter. This wasn't part of the act, this was real. Dashiell, I know we said 6 months. I know this was supposed to be temporary. His hand tightened at her waist. But somewhere between the pancakes and the coffee and you wearing that green dress, this stopped feeling fake. Sloane's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want this to end in 6 months. He held her gaze. I'm saying that pretending to be your husband has made me realize I want to actually be your husband, or at least the person you choose to spend time with when this arrangement expires. The world narrowed to just the 2 of them. The music, the warmth of his hand, the vulnerability in his expression. You're serious, Sloane said, completely, and if you don't feel the same way, That's okay. We'll finish the 6 months, divorce amicably like we planned, and I'll respect whatever boundaries you need. His thumb traced small circles on her back. But if there's even a chance you feel this too, I need to know. Because I'm falling for you, Sloane. And pretending I'm not is killing me. Every logical part of Sloane's brain screamed that this was a terrible idea. Office romance, power dynamics, the complexity of turning a fake marriage into a real relationship. But the other part, the part that had been slowly falling for Dashiell knocks over pancakes and arguments and late-night texts, that part won. I feel it too, she whispered. I've been trying not to, but I do. His smile was brilliant. Yeah? Yeah. She shook her head. This is insane. Most good things are. He pulled her imperceptibly closer. Can I kiss you? We're in the middle of a gala. That's not a no. Dashiell. He kissed her. Soft, gentle, perfect. The kind of kiss that made promises neither of them had words for yet. When they broke apart, someone nearby started clapping. Then another person. Within seconds, half the ballroom was applauding them like they were the evening's entertainment. Sloane buried her face in Dashiell's shoulder. I'm going to die of embarrassment. Worth it. He was grinning like he'd just closed the biggest deal of his career. Come on, let's get out of here. We can't just leave. Watch me. He led her off the dance floor, grabbed their coats from coat check with impressive efficiency, and had them in his car within 3 minutes. As they pulled away from the hotel, Sloane started laughing. What? Dashiell asked. We just caused a scene at the most important corporate event of the year. Correction. I kissed my wife at our company gala. That's not a scene. That's romance. He reached over and took her hand. And I'd do it again. Sloane laced her fingers through his, the ring catching the streetlight. Where are we going? No idea, just driving. He glanced at her. Is that okay? Yeah. She settled back in her seat, still holding his hand. That's perfect. They drove through Boston, past the harbor, through the North End, around the Common. No destination, no plan, just the two of them and the possibility of something real. Eventually, Dashiell pulled over near the Esplanade. They got out and walked down to the water, the city lights reflecting on the Charles River. I should probably tell you something, Sloane said, leaning against the railing. What? I've had a crush on you since the Morrison merger review meeting. You completely destroyed my analysis, made me redo the entire financial model, and I was furious. She smiled at the memory, but also kind of impressed. Nobody had ever pushed me that hard to be better. That meeting was 18 months ago. I know. You've hated me for 18 months while secretly having a crush on me. It's been confusing. She turned to face him. But somewhere between Vegas and now, the crush became something else. Something bigger. Dashiell cupped her face in his hands. I've been half in love with you since you told me my revenue projections were optimistic garbage in front of the entire finance team. That was our second meeting. I know. You were wearing a navy suit and those heels that make you 3 inches taller, and you stood there and eviscerated my work with a smile. His thumb brushed her cheek. I've been toast ever since. Why didn't you say something? Because you hated me, and I had a reputation to maintain, and I didn't know how to be vulnerable. He rested his forehead against hers. But then we got drunk married in Vegas, and suddenly I had an excuse to be close to you, to learn who you really are. And every day made it harder to remember this was supposed to be temporary. Sloane kissed him again, deeper this time. When they broke apart, she was breathless. So what now? She asked. Now we go home. Tomorrow we wake up and figure out how to turn a fake marriage into something real. He smiled. Think we can manage that? With you? Probably not without several arguments and at least one dramatic fight. I wouldn't have it any other way. They drove back to Beacon Hill, Sloane's hand in his the entire way. When they reached her building, Dashiell walked her to her door. Tonight was... Sloane started. Perfect. He kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start figuring this out. You're not staying? If I come upstairs right now, I'm not leaving until morning, and we should probably take this slow. Do it right. His eyes held hers. You're not just a 6-month arrangement anymore, Sloane. You're the person I want to build something real with. That deserves more than rushing. Her heart melted completely. When did you become such a romantic? About 3 hours ago when I kissed you in front of 500 people. He grinned. I'm still figuring this out. Figure it out with me? Always. One more kiss, sweet, promising, perfect, and then he was gone. Sloane let herself into her apartment, still wearing the burgundy gown, still feeling like she was floating. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dashiell. Dashiell, thank you for taking a chance on us. Sleep well, wife. Sloane. Same to you, husband. See you tomorrow. She fell asleep smiling, the ring on her finger feeling less like a prop and more like a promise. Somewhere between fake and real, between enemies and lovers, between 6 months and forever, something had shifted. And for the first time since Vegas, Sloane wasn't scared of what came next. She was excited. 3 weeks later, Sloane woke up in Dashiell's apartment for the first time. Technically, she'd been spending most nights there for the past 2 weeks. Her place was smaller, his had better coffee, and neither of them saw the point in pretending they wanted to sleep apart. But this was different. This was a Sunday morning. No work, no meetings, no corporate performance. Just them. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Dashiell's Seaport loft. Sloane could hear him in the kitchen, humming something off-key while the espresso machine hissed. She patted out in one of his t-shirts, MIT naturally, and found him making pancakes. Again, this is becoming a pattern, she said, sliding onto a bar stool. Dashiell looked up, and his smile was the same one he'd given her at the gala. Soft, genuine, completely unguarded. Good morning to you too. Morning. She accepted the coffee he slid across the counter. I could get used to this. That's the plan. He flipped a pancake with unnecessary flourish. I was thinking we should talk about the 6-month thing. Sloane's stomach dropped. Oh? Not like that? He abandoned the pancakes, coming around the counter to stand in front of her. I mean, we should talk about what happens when we hit the 6-month mark, which is in... He checked his watch. 4 months and 3 days. You've been counting. Of course I've been counting. I'm a CFO. Numbers are kinda my thing. His hand settled on her waist. But here's what I'm thinking. We skip the divorce. Revolutionary concept. And instead we do this properly. Date for real. Move in together. Actually move in. Not just you leaving clothes at my place. Maybe eventually have a wedding that we both remember. He traced patterns on her hip through the t-shirt. What do you think? Sloane pretended to consider. I don't know. I've gotten pretty attached to telling people we got married drunk in Vegas. It's a great story. We can keep the story. Just add a sequel where we fall in love and decide to stay married on purpose. That's actually even better. She pulled him closer by his shirt. Yes, to all of it. Yeah. She kissed him, soft and sweet. But I have one condition. Name it. When we tell our future kids about how we met, we're absolutely telling them the truth. Drunk Vegas wedding and all. Dashiell laughed. Deal. Though we might want to wait until they're teenagers for that conversation. Future kids? Sloane raised an eyebrow. We're planning that far ahead now. With you, I'm planning everything. He kissed her forehead. But we can take it one step at a time. Starting with you officially moving in here. My lease is up in 2 months. Perfect timing. He returned to the stove, rescuing the pancakes before they burned. Speaking of timing, Miranda asked me yesterday if you'd be interested in leading the European expansion project. Sloane nearly dropped her coffee. What? It's a 2-year initiative. Big budget, lots of autonomy. She specifically requested you. He plated the pancakes. And before you ask, no, I didn't pull strings. She came to me because she needed CFO approval on the budget, and mentioned she wanted her best strategist leading it. That's huge. You're brilliant. Of course she wants you. He set the plate in front of her. So, interested? Are you kidding? Yes. Sloane's mind was already racing with possibilities. Wait, would it affect us? Conflict of interest? I already checked with legal. As long as we maintain separate reporting lines and disclose the relationship, which we obviously have, we're fine. He poured syrup over his own pancakes. Plus, by the time the project launches, we'll have been married for 8 months. At that point, people will stop seeing us as the Vegas mistake couple and start seeing us as just us. The Vegas mistake couple? That's what Robert Chen called us last week. I think he meant it affectionately. Sloane laughed. That man is chaos. Accurate chaos, though. He was right about us at the gala. That we argue about everything but can't imagine being apart. She speared a bite of pancake. Yeah, he nailed it. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment, the kind that only happened when two people were completely at ease with each other. "Can I ask you something?" Dashiell said eventually. "Always. When did you know that this was real?" Sloane thought about it. "Honestly, the coffee shop. When you made me dance with you on Newbury Street." She met his eyes. "You were so determined to make this work. Not just the fake marriage, but making sure we were actually okay together. And I realized you weren't just protecting your career. You were protecting us. I was terrified you'd bail," he admitted, "that you'd wake up one day and realize you'd be happier without me." "Not possible." She reached across and took his hand. "You know what I realized? All those months I spent hating you, I was just fighting the inevitable. You challenged me, pushed me, made me better at my job. And I couldn't admit that what I felt was actually attraction, because that would mean I'd misjudged you. You didn't misjudge me. I was a controlling jerk. You were. But you were also brilliant and driven and secretly kind when you thought nobody was watching." She squeezed his hand. "And then Vegas happened, and suddenly I had permission to see all of you. Not just the corporate shark, but the guy who makes perfect pancakes and apologizes when he's wrong and looks at me like I matter. You do matter." His voice was rough. "You matter more than anything." They finished breakfast, did the dishes together, Sloane washing, Dashiell drying, their routine already established after only 3 weeks. It felt domestic and perfect and exactly right. "What's the plan for today?" Sloane asked, putting away the last plate. "Well, I was thinking we could go to Fenway." Dashiell checked his phone. "Red Sox have a home game at 1. I may have gotten us tickets." "May have? Okay, I definitely got us tickets. Luxury box because I'm trying to impress my wife." "Your wife is already impressed." Sloane looped her arms around his neck. "But she'll never say no to baseball." "Good, because after the game I made reservations at Astra for dinner. And tomorrow I scheduled us a couples massage at that spa you mentioned liking." Sloane pulled back slightly. Dashiell Knox. "Are you romancing me?" Aggressively. "Is it working?" "Completely." She kissed him. "But you know you don't have to try this hard, right? I'm already all in." "I know, but you deserve to be romanced. Properly. The way I should have done from the beginning instead of manipulating you into a fake marriage." "The fake marriage worked out pretty well." "It did. But I still want to do this right." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I want you to know every day that choosing me, choosing us, was the right decision. I already know that." Sloane's heart was so full it hurt. "But I won't stop you from trying to prove it." The Red Sox won 5-3. Sloane ate too many ballpark nachos, and Dashiell spent the 7th inning stretch explaining advanced statistics until she kissed him just to make him stop talking. Dinner at Astra was incredible. Fresh seafood, excellent wine, and a quiet corner table where they could actually hear each other over the ambient noise. "I have something for you," Dashiell said as they waited for dessert. He pulled out a small box. Not ring-sized, wider, flatter. Sloane opened it and found a key on a simple leather keychain. "To the loft," Dashiell said. "Official move-in invitation. No pressure, no timeline. Just, whenever you're ready, you have a place here. With me." Sloane looked at the key, then at him. "I'm ready now." Yeah. My lease is up in 8 weeks anyway, and I've been basically living there for 2 weeks already." She closed her hand around the key. "Plus your coffee is better." Romantic. "I'm being practical. Someone in this relationship has to be. You love me for it." "I do." The words came out easily, naturally. "Love you, I mean. I love you." It was the first time either of them had said it out loud. Dashiell's expression softened completely. "I love you too. Have for a while now." "How long?" "Remember that budget meeting 3 months before Vegas? The one where you caught the error in the Q3 projections that would have cost us millions?" "Vaguely." "I walked out of that meeting, called my assistant, and told her to block my calendar for an hour because I needed to process the fact that I was falling for someone who just publicly corrected me." He smiled. "That was the moment I knew. And you didn't say anything? You hated me. What was I supposed to do?" "Hey, Sloane, I know you think I'm the worst, but want to grab coffee and discuss our feelings." Sloane laughed. "That would have been terrible." "Exactly. So I waited and schemed, and may have orchestrated the Vegas trip specifically hoping something would happen." "You what?" "I didn't plan the wedding," he said quickly, "but I definitely made sure we ended up at the same happy hour. and may have suggested the tequila shots, and possibly mentioned that Vegas chapel when you were already 3 drinks in and talking about spontaneity. Sloane stared at him. You manipulated us into getting married? I created optimal conditions for spontaneity, he corrected. You made the actual decision while intoxicated, which I'm not proud of. But in my defense, I was also drunk and convinced it was a brilliant idea. You're unbelievable. You love me anyway. I really do. She shook her head, grinning. You're lucky you're charming, and make good pancakes. That too. Dessert arrived. Chocolate lava cake they shared, feeding each other bites and probably looking disgustingly cute to everyone around them. On the drive home, because it was home now, Sloane realized, not just Dashiell's place but theirs, they held hands across the console. Hey Dashiell? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For being patient. For making pancakes. For turning our disaster into something beautiful. She squeezed his hand. For being exactly who I needed, even when I didn't know I needed it. Right back at you. He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. Best drunk decision I ever made. Same. Monday morning, Sloane showed up to work with moving boxes in her car and a plan to officially relocate to the seaport over the next few weeks. She also showed up wearing her ring without any self-consciousness for the first time. Miranda noticed immediately when Sloane came in for their 10 a.m. meeting. That's a different energy, the COO observed. What is? You. 3 weeks ago you looked like you were managing a corporate crisis. Now you look like someone who's actually happy to be married. Miranda smiled. I'm guessing the gala went well. You could say that. Good. Because happy employees are productive employees, and I need you focused for this European expansion. She slid a folder across her desk. Initial proposal. I want your thoughts by end of week. Sloane opened it, scanning the executive summary. This is massive. It is. And you're the right person to lead it. Dashiell agreed for what it's worth. He mentioned you talked. I also told him that if he lets his personal relationship interfere with your professional opportunities, I'll have his head on a platter. Miranda's expression was pleasant, but her tone was steel. You're too talented to be limited by office politics or romantic entanglements. Noted. And appreciated. Good. Now get out of my office and start building me a European strategy. Sloane practically floated back to her desk. The European expansion, the move-in, Dashiell, all of it. Her life was finally coming together in ways she'd never imagined. Her phone buzzed. A text from Zara. Zara, lunch today? Need to hear everything about the gala, and why half of LinkedIn is talking about you and Knox kissing. Sloane, we went viral? Zara, so viral. Someone posted a video. You two are relationship goals in the corporate finance world. It's hilarious and adorable. Sloane, I'm going to die of embarrassment. Zara, you're going to have lunch with me at noon and tell me how you went from fake marriage to actually being in love. Flower Bakery. Don't be late. Sloane smiled, typing back, see you there. At 11:47 a.m., her desk phone rang. Dashiell's extension. Miss me already? She answered. Always, but I'm actually calling for professional reasons. CFO to Director of Strategic Planning. How official. What can I do for you, Mr. Knox? I need your input on the Q4 budget revisions. My office in 10 minutes? I'll be there. She hung up, grabbed her tablet, and headed upstairs. When she walked into Dashiell's office, he was standing by his window, looking out at Boston Harbor. He turned when she entered, and his professional mask slipped immediately. Hey, he said softly. Hey yourself. Sloane closed the door. What do you actually need? This. He crossed to her, pulled her close, and kissed her thoroughly. I had a meeting-free window and realized I hadn't kissed you since breakfast. That was 3 hours ago. Exactly, unacceptable. He kissed her again, softer. How's your day? Good. Great, actually. Miranda gave me the European expansion project. I know. She called me right after your meeting to warn me not to interfere. She's terrifying. She's protective of her team. I respect that. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. But she's right. This is your project, your success. I'm just the guy who gets to celebrate with you when you nail it. You're also the guy who orchestrated our entire relationship through strategic manipulation. You're never going to let that go, are you? Not even a little bit. She grinned. But I forgive you since it worked out. Generous of you. Someone knocked on the door. They jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Come in. Dashiell called, his professional mask back in place. His assistant, Jennifer, poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but Martin Hastings wants to see you both. Now. Sloane and Dashiell exchanged glances. Both of us? Sloane asked. Both of you. He's in his office. They followed Jennifer upstairs to the executive floor, Sloane's mind racing through every possible scenario. Had someone complained about their relationship? Was this about the viral video? Were they in trouble? Martin's assistant waved them in immediately. The CEO was sitting behind his massive desk, Diana beside him in one of the visitor chairs. They were both smiling. Dashiell, Sloane, Martin said warmly. Thank you for coming up on short notice. Please, sit. They sat, Sloane's heart hammering. I'll cut to the chase, Martin continued. Diana and I wanted to personally thank you both. The gala was our most successful fundraiser in 10 years. We raised $2.3 million for the Foundation's literacy program. Sloane blinked. That's incredible. It is. And while we can't credit it entirely to you two, Diana believes your story helped. Martin smiled. People respond to authentic romance. The video of your kiss has been shared thousands of times, and apparently several major donors cited it as inspiration for increasing their contributions. Diana leaned forward. You two reminded people that love still exists in the corporate world, that it's possible to build something real, even in high-pressure environments. She looked at them with genuine warmth. That matters more than you know. We're just living our lives, Sloane said, still processing. Exactly, and it's wonderful. Martin stood. Anyway, we wanted you to know that your relationship, however it started, has been good for Meridian. Good for morale, good for the Foundation, good for our culture. So we're not in trouble? Dashiell asked. Trouble? Absolutely not. Diana wants to feature you in the next Foundation newsletter, actually. Oh, that's really not necessary, Sloane started. It would help with next year's fundraising, Diana said gently. But only if you're comfortable. We won't pressure you. Sloane looked at Dashiell. He raised an eyebrow. Your call. Okay, she said. We can do that. They left Martin's office 10 minutes later, slightly dazed. We're corporate role models now, Sloane said as they waited for the elevator. That's weird, right? Extremely weird. Dashiell pulled her into the empty elevator, hitting the button for the parking garage instead of their floors. Want to skip out early? Go get lunch somewhere that doesn't require corporate performance. I have a lunch with Zara at noon. Perfect. I'll drop you off, pick you up after, and we'll go home and do absolutely nothing productive for the rest of the day. You want to skip work? I want to spend time with my wife. Work can wait. Sloane's heart melted. You know what? Yeah. Let's do it. They emerged into the parking garage and Dashiell beeped his car unlocked. Hey, Dashiell? Yeah? I think we're going to be okay. Like, really okay. He pulled her close, kissed her forehead. I know we are. You want to know why? Why? Because we're partners in everything, and partners don't give up on each other. Even when one of them is a controlling manipulator who orchestrates Vegas weddings? Even then, he grinned. Besides, you like that I'm a little manipulative. Keeps things interesting. I really do. She kissed him. I love you, Dashiell Knox. I love you too, Sloane Wilder Knox. Wilder Knox? Hyphenated. Modern. Practical. He opened her car door. Unless you hate it? No. She slid into the passenger seat, smiling. I think it's perfect. As they drove through Boston toward Flower Bakery, Sloane thought about the journey, from drunk Vegas wedding to genuine partnership, from enemies to lovers, from fake marriage to something beautifully real. It hadn't been conventional. It definitely hadn't been planned, but it was theirs, and that made it absolutely perfect. 6 months later, Sloane stood in the hallway of their seaport loft, their loft, fully shared, completely home, and stared at the framed photo Dashiell had just hung. It was from the gala. Someone had captured the moment right before their kiss, Dashiell looking at her like she was his entire world, Sloane's expression soft and vulnerable and completely in love. You framed it? She asked. Of course I framed it. It's the moment everything changed. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. Plus, you look beautiful. We look happy. We were. We are. He kissed her temple. 6 months official today. The original deadline. Instead, we're moving forward. With European expansion, your promotion to senior director, my acceptance that I don't actually need to control everything, and plans for an actual wedding next spring that we'll both remember. Don't forget your promise to let me pick the venue. I will neither forget nor interfere. Much. He turned her to face him. Happy 6 months, Sloane. Happy 6 months, Dashiell. She kissed him. Best drunk decision ever. Best drunk decision ever. Outside their windows, Boston glittered in the evening light. Inside their home, two people who'd started as enemies become reluctant partners and ended up genuinely in love stood together planning their future. It wasn't the fairy tale either of them had imagined. It was better because it was real. The end